All right. Looks like we are live. It looks like this thing's working. What's happening, everyone? Happy Tuesday, July 11th, 7-11. Get your roller dogs. If you're watching, thanks for hopping in. I am testing out some of this functionality here with all this swanky new stuff that I bought. Looks like the mic is working. I think we're good to go. Someone pop a comment and I want to see if I see these in the software here that I'm using. But I think we're good to go. As you may have heard, I do plan on doing a regular podcast this season. And not the best idea to get it launched in the summer. But so be it. We're going to work out the kinks. That's what we're going to do here. You know, you get this little break after the draft, try to get organized, kind of figure out what your plan is going to be moving forward. And I'm definitely working a podcast, a video element, live stream into what we do moving forward. You know, a lot of the glory days of sabresprospects.com are in the rearview mirror at this point. Watching more hockey. Thank you, J to the Z 813. I got your comment. I appreciate that. Looks like we're up and running. Trying to do more writing, but I think this is going to be the way that I want to do this moving forward. I put together a little 18-minute video, popped it up on the YouTube page the other day. Didn't tweet it. Just wanted to kind of mess around, set everything up, just kind of fart around, get this thing going. This ring light, I can already tell, is going to be really annoying. I'll deal with it. I won't bitch about it every time I go live, but I just got to get used to it. But, you know, we have this little break. It's really a short break. It seems like it's been a year-round thing, you know, with summer camps. They come up, you know, usually late July. There will be some Sabres prospects that are going to be skating here in a couple of weeks. We'll talk about that in a few minutes here. Won't go crazy forever tonight. Like I said, this is just going to be a quick test drive, but no, I think that this is going to be a bigger piece to what I do moving forward. We'll try to do some more writing. I'm still working out the plan for that. That's a commitment for me to do writing on a regular schedule, but I miss it. That's how this whole thing started. And I do miss writing, but I'll figure that out. But in the meantime, I think this right here, what we're doing, you know, sitting down, putting the cans on, turning the mic on and hitting go live is a hell of a lot easier than sitting out and typing some, you know, 3,000 page dissertation and a prospect ranking. But it's also fun for me. So I had to kind of balance that out and figure out what's reasonable for that. But no, just to kind of get into you know, enough on that. I think you're going to see a lot of me. So I'm not going to really belabor that point. But, you know, I guess just a few notes really coming off development camp. Like I said, the break isn't very long. World Junior Summer Showcase in Plymouth, Michigan with USA, Sweden, Finland. USA will have 2 teams. We will see some Sabres prospects there. At least they've been named to rosters anyways. So Noah Ostlund, Anton Wahlberg for Sweden. Wahlberg, you can bet, will be in attendance. They're going to break for camp on July 22nd. Then they'll head over to Michigan. The camp runs from July 27th into that first week of August. I think August 4th is the last day. Topias Laininen for Finland, one of 2 goalies named to their roster for the summer camp. Now, it remains to be seen if the stress fracture in his heel will be healed by then. Not certain what the plan is, but they only named 2 goalies when they did name their roster. I'd be surprised if he plays, but at the same time, if he's good to go, I know they're going to want him there. Sabres want Laininen to step up. Finland really wants Laininen to step up. He was, you know, bounced around a lot last season. You can see the pieces of a pretty good goal. It's just going to be a longer road for him. I think fans are going to have higher expectations of things happening faster for him, just given where he was selected in the draft in the second round. But the reality is that, you know, he's going to get a good test this season because he's going to stay in Finland. I think ideally for Buffalo, this is just my opinion, he would have come over and played in the CHL. But the reality is that these young kids get paid a decent chunk of money to stay with their home club in Europe. And that's what it sounds like Leinen intends to do. So with that said, you know, if he's nice, you know, feeling good and ready to go, maybe we see him, but I'm not as hopeful for him to play. But again, yeah, I've been wrong in the past. Same thing with Oslin, by the way. You know, he's rehabbing. We didn't see him on the ice at development camp. He could possibly, you know, take a few laps around the rink. I'm not sure. He did some press availability. Can't remember what he said. I think he's skating, but he's just not in contact yet. Maybe that changes. But again, this is just a couple weeks away. So not sure, but Wahlberg for certain. Other guys for World Juniors this year that we're going to want to keep an eye on, Maxim Sturbach for Slovakia. He's pretty much a lock at this point after being there last year and playing a big role. I mean, he was a workhorse at the under 18s. You know, he's just been locked into Slovakia's national team program for a while now. So he'll be there. I don't know, you know, there's a 5 Nations tournament that's going to be in Sweden in late August. So it's going to be Finland, Sweden, the Czechs, the Slovaks, and Switzerland. Not sure if Sturbach will play in that because the tournament ends a day before first semester starts at Michigan State. Doesn't seem reasonable to think he's going to, you know, get over, maybe he plays a couple games and leaves. I'm not sure. That tournament runs April 21st to the 27th. I think semester starts in Michigan State on the 28th. Doubtful there, but I mean, certainly in the mix come December. For World Juniors, Matthew Savoy and Zach Benson, I think we can pretty much put them in ink for Team Canada this year. Benson, you would think in ink. Savoy, I think, is pretty much a certainty. What's interesting is Canada's not doing a summer camp this year. So what they're going to do is have some virtual meetings, I believe actually this week or next. But they're not doing on ice in their you know, summer showcase that they've done in recent years. But Savoy and Benson certainly will be part of that program. Scott Ratzlaff, I'm told, is also a goalie that's kind of in the mix. He has that pedigree with Hockey Canada. He trains with Kelly Gard, who's tied to Hockey Canada. So I think, you know, that's going to be kind of interesting to watch and see if Ratzlaff, as an 18-year-old, can work his way in. You know, he might be more of a target for next season, World Junior. So the 2025, which I believe is going to be in Ottawa. This year's tournament is in Gothenburg, Sweden. And then lastly, Jiri Kulik is actually still eligible, but I just don't see him being a World Junior guy this year. I think he's accomplished pretty much everything that there is to accomplish for him. I don't know, I tweeted, if you want to hit my Twitter up, he did an interview with a Czech hockey outlet, and he just seems laser focused on being in the NHL this year. With the Jack Quinn injury, I think that he can certainly be in the mix, but they're not going to rush him up. So it's going to be, I'm curious to see what happens with Kulik this season. There's no harm in going back and starting the year in Rochester and just getting that, you know, continuing that momentum that really started coming to life February 1. I mean, he ended the season on a tear, did really well in the playoffs. He did well, but it was a wake-up call also in terms of guys really keying in on him and trying to take him out of the game, and I thought he persevered really well. I like the way that he picked up some more defensive zone responsibilities, especially when Byro got hurt and Kulik moved to center. I thought that really helped just kind of round out the development, that year one agenda for him. In terms of World Juniors, though, I'm not banking on it. I mean, I just don't see it. What's the point? Let's start building up his professional resume, and the target is the NHL. whether or not he starts, that's going to be the fun part of training camp. You throw a guy like Kulik in there, the Savoy factor and how he looks coming in after a full season of full off season of training. The speed is there. A guy like that, you got to expect him to get knocked around a little bit, but he competes. He's a battler. I wouldn't put him at that same, just motor and just unflappable compete level that Benson brings to the ice. And we saw Benson in development camp kind of do his thing, but that's nothing compared to what he's like when it's 5-on-5 or, when the real bullets are flying and the emotions of a physical game are hitting peak levels. So I mentioned it was just really fun, with Dan Dunleavy and Rob Ray, the look on their face, just kind of seeing this kid, because he's not, super imposing. He's not tiny, but he's not the biggest guy on the ice. But just the way that he is just a dog on a bone, it's going to be really enlightening, I think, for Sabres fans to check this kid out. And we hope that he can crack that World Junior lineup. I mean, the offensive resume is there. He just seems like the guy that, it seems like a no-brainer. Savoy was always kind of questionable just because of the returnees that Canada had last year, whether it was Fantilli, Dylan Guenther. He was up against Connor Bedard. Those guys aren't going to be there this year. He was competing with guys like Logan Stankoven, who was the reigning CHL player of the year. They had a lot of returnees at Canada last year, and the way that they built their team, they put some big guys in their bottom six forwards. They didn't build an all-star team. They built a team that was, put together to win a gold medal, and they succeeded in that mission. This year, it's a different story. Savoy has proven his value to Hockey Canada. And it's, unless something happens where he has to be in Buffalo, he should be in the World Juniors. So got a comment here. Savoy or Kulik more likely to make the roster to start the season? Throw Lucas Rusek into that too. It depends on the role. Savoy, I think. Kulik, they have the luxury of sending down if they have to. There could be numbers for both of those guys. I haven't really looked too much at the NHL roster, but I think the Quinn injury kind of changes some things a little bit. The idea with Lucas Rusek is that if he wins a job outright, they'd like to have him up, but that first year, the 2-year deal that he signed is two-way, I think, for the purpose of knowing that they can send him down. And it's the second year of Rusek's deal is a one-way contract. So really, I think they're telling us that they're targeting him for 2024-25 to make the team. But I think, Savoy, I think, has probably a leg up just because of the situation where, they could keep him here. I think the goal, if they don't want to send him back, and he's showing signs of a guy that is really going to benefit from being around the team for a couple months. You got to remember, I mean, Hockey Canada is going to break for the World Junior Camp probably around December 10th-ish. That's usually when they go to camp. So you're looking at keeping him here for basically 2 months. I forget when the season starts. Second week of October, something like that. First week of October. So Savoy, I think they can't put him in Rochester, obviously, right? They can get a conditioning stint in, but I see him being a guy that they're going to want to probably have him hang out for an extended run, get him to World Juniors, see how he does there, then just kind of figure out what they're going to do with him after that. Sending him back to juniors is logical. It's not a large chunk of the season. He'll go and probably destroy it, and that's fine if it's, January, February, March, and hopefully if it's not Wenatchee, he gets moved to a team that's going to go on a run and, can maybe get to Memorial Cup and add that to his resume before he's done with junior hockey. Kulik, though, it's really interesting. He's going to come in. I mean, he literally thought that he was going to make the NHL last year. He said it on draft night. We kind of chuckled about it, but that's legitimately how he felt. He was a little down in the dumper when he went back to Rochester. There was a little bit of a letdown. He had to kind of figure out what that league was all about. And I think once he figured out that it was a pretty damn good league that he was in, got his head on straight, started really just figuring it out. And it was a slow burn leading up to World Juniors. He goes, he plays great at that tournament, comes back, and just like his development went, so he's got some momentum. I'm expecting that. I mean, it's a really tough question to answer, Bruntoon, but there's going to be some serious camp battles going on. And I love that, they brought Tyson Jost back throw all these guys into this pool and let them battle it out and put the best team together. They do have some things that they have to work out with rosters and waivers and whatnot. It's going to give them a layer of things to think about, but I want the competition in the pipeline. You see it in the prospect ranks. I mean, there are numbers, man. And when like next year, if, after like Niarchev has a year, even on defense, after Novikov has a year, Benson, I'm not looking at him as an NHL candidate, but I don't see him as a guy who's going to really spend a lot of, if any, time in the AHL. He could bypass that. Like 2024 training camp is going to be pretty sick. So the numbers they're piling up, and it's going to be really fun to watch what shakes out, and just keep adding some defensemen to the mix. Ryan Johnson will have another year of maturation. He could be a guy, with injuries that maybe, I remember when Chris Butler came out of Denver after his junior year, he was probably good enough to be like the 6 or 7, and he ended up coming up right around Thanksgiving. I want to say, I'm dating myself. Holy smokes, man. When the hell was that? That was, holy smokes. That was a while ago. But maybe Ryan Johnson's kind of the same, where, look, there's nothing, look, he could stay down in Rochester all year, but I think that his skating game and his defensive competency could have him positioned to plug some holes in the lineup as injuries happen and whatnot. But the idea is hopefully they don't need him. They want to win in Rochester. And having him down there and really developing relationships with the young forwards and his fellow D-men, I think there's a lot to gain also. So I'm excited. I'm tired. So it's like, I'm not as animated and having 17 gallons of coffee fueling my passion for talking prospects, but I'm really excited for this group. It actually gives me the energy though, to kind of put something like this together and do this long-term. There will be a prospect show once a week. What that cadence is, like day of the week, we'll figure that out. But, I do want it to be interactive during the season. I'm not expecting people to hop in here in July and August, and I'm not expecting numbers, but what I'm really hoping for is I get familiar with all this stuff. I can put up little things like this and say, okay, you guys can fill that in the comments. We could talk about it. I want it to be interactive. I'm sure there'll be a couple troublemakers that will just have to kind of work around. That's just kind of how the internet is these days. And that's, God bless you if that's what you want to do. But we have a good group. It's always been a really good group of fans that have followed the prospects since being on Twitter. I forget when I joined Twitter. It was a while ago. It's definitely over 10 years, but it's always been like a crazy fan base that just gets into this stuff. And I've always enjoyed doing it. And I think I'm gonna have a lot of fun doing this more moving forward, just talking, shooting the crap, answering questions, whatever, however it shakes out. So with that said, though, I wanted to make sure we kind of all were on the same page with what's going to be coming up as far as actual hockey. So again, July 27th through August 4th, World Junior Summer Showcase. We'll definitely see Wahlberg, and then question marks with Ostlund, Leinonen. Gavin McCarthy, by the way, was not among the 16D that USA is bringing to camp for their 2 teams. He's definitely more of next summer. And it's really funny when you look at USA's D. I think they have, of those 16, they went 8 left, 8 right, which I don't know if they did that on purpose, but good for them for having it shake out that way. And, the other thing, like let's not sleep on Scott Retzlaff. He's definitely in the mix for Zoom meetings with Hockey Canada. And they're going to have their camp. Maybe they move their camp up, by the way, to kind of take it back to Savoy. The fact that they're not having a summer gathering and they're just going to kind of dive into evaluations when the Bullets start flying this fall with, NHL prospect tournaments and then, the CHL games and whatnot. Maybe they bring guys in a day or two early than they historically have. So maybe it's, December 8th, somewhere around there. Maybe there's a travel day involved. So, we need to be mindful of that with Savoy, though. I think that's the plan. And it was kind of, even without the Shane Wright thing that Seattle did this year, where they kept him around. They played him a few games. They did some classroom session, having him watch up top, which doesn't hurt. There's benefits of really high-end practice reps. I strongly think that should be the play, unless he just somehow plays his way out and doesn't look like he belongs. But I don't see that happening. He's got the speed. Hopefully he comes in a little stronger. Hopefully he can add weight on. I don't expect him to add 11 pounds of muscle like Mats Lindgren told the media last week at development camp. But adding a little more beef up top, get some core strength going. I mean, Isak Rosén, man, we just saw this kid looks like he got bigger during the season. I hope we see that from Savoy. When he comes to camp in fall, we see a little bit more of a neck and the kid's ready to go. Other than that, I think we've gone about 20 minutes. Unless you guys have any more questions, I'll cut this short, give you back some time. It looks like, though, the chat's working. I'll have to see. So, by the way, so this is going to the Facebook page, the YouTube page. I think we're up on Twitter. And I started a Twitch page. I'm not on Twitch, but if you're on Twitch, you can hang out on Twitch. It's Sabres Prospects is the username. So we're just going to kind of blast this out and see if we can get some traction. I think the rubber will really hit the road in the fall. Really, I mean, look, Europe, they start early. Russia starts early. We have Poltapov in Russia this year. I liked having those Russian players, man. Like 10:30 games was awesome during the week. I have a job. I sit and face that wall. I have a computer over here. It was just nice kind of spinning around and watching some hockey in between calls. Don't tell my boss. But one Russian this year, I'll take it. Wahlberg, Von Barnekow, we'll have a couple guys over there. So I'll have some hockey to watch during the day. Man, those years when they weren't drafting Europeans, that sucked, man, because it was just like every Friday night and Saturday night. And it was just all weeknights. Everything was compressed. Spreading it out is very helpful for my schedule. So Jerry Fort and Kevin Adams, please keep dipping into Europe and Russia, please. All right. Other than that, John K., thanks for the show. You're welcome, John K. Thanks for hopping in, man. I always appreciate it. I appreciate these comments. I appreciate the interaction on Twitter. I know I am not the greatest at answering tweets all the time because a lot of times I'm watching a game and then I forget to go back, honestly. Sometimes if I don't answer the tweets, maybe I've answered the question recently and you can pop into the replies and see if I have. And or you can do, like your own reply to me or maybe that'll boost, move you up in my timeline in my replies. I don't know, but I do apologize. I've had a couple people say, man, you never reply to me. And I'm saying, I'm sorry, man. I'll try to get better, but hopefully we can answer a lot of questions here too. So, all right, 9:23. I'm going to go and crack something. I don't know. Maybe a little tequila before bed. But hey, thanks for sticking around with me here for a few minutes as I tested this out. If there were any problems, if the audio sucked, let me know. I think this shot is tight enough. That test video, if you go and check it out on YouTube, it was like I was too far back and it was just amateur hour. So I'm pretty pumped though, man. So thanks for hopping in. I'm not going to belabor this. Stay out of trouble until next time. I appreciate you stopping in. Take care.